Hello folks, Steve Maloney here. Welcome to part 3 of my tour of the Royal Mile. Today I'm standing at the top of the Canongate. So as we walk down the Royal Mile, I'm coming to this fantastic little delicatessen called Cranachan and Crowdy. It's a purveyor of fine Scottish food, drinks and gifts. And let's pop in and see if little Beth is available. Let's have a look. Oh, here we go. Hi Beth. How are you?
Stephen.
How are you?
I'm good. Welcome.
So I was just wondering if you could just quickly show us around your shop.
Sure. Come on in.
Yeah?
Everything's made in Scotland.
Yeah?
There's a fabulous map.
Is that all your makers, yeah?
That's a lot of them.
Wow. That's a lot. Cool. Oh, look at all the gins. These are all Scottish gins, are they?
They are.
Beautiful.
All made in Scotland.
Wonderful. So artistically laid out as well. I love it.
Thank you.
Wow. Oh, look at that. Is that a Harris Tweed tea cosy?
That is.
Oh, that's beautiful.
As well as this one is actually hand knit.
Oh, that's so cool. What a wonderful shop.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That's great. And what have we got over here? Just soaps and books and stuff?
These are soaps made from local honey.
Ah, I see. This is wonderful. That's great.
And all our ceramics are made in St. Andrews or Edinburgh or up in the Highlands.
Land. Now, if we go across here, you see a place, a sort of restaurant called Chessel's. Now, I don't know if you remember me talking yesterday about Chessel's Court, where this is the place where Deacon Brodie, the cabinet maker and locksmith, burgled in the 1700s. So, as we come through here, you'll start to see Chessel's Court. And this is where the old customs office was. A beautiful old courtyard just off the Royal Mile. So you have a mixture of Victorian and Georgian buildings. This here is Chessel's Court. And if you look across there, you'll see a lovely old house with a sort of pointed stone gateway. And that is Mori House. And it was built in 1625 and bought by the Countess of Moray in 1643. Now, as we come out of Canongate Kirk, we look across the road, you'll see the Museum of Edinburgh, and this is Huntly House. It's currently closed at the moment, but this dates back to the 1500s, the late 1500s. And for any Outlander fans, there's actually people filming down there. You'll see Bakehouse Close, and you'll see the bit where Jamie's print shop was, just in the end there. And as we make our way down the Canongate, you can see all the lovely little shops here. They've got Gordon Nicholson Kilt Makers, Prestige Scotland, This'll Do Nicely, and lots of different coloured buildings. And across there we have the Fudge House. And coming into view on the left hand side, you'll see a clock. Now, this is the toll booth. As the Canongate was a separate borough up until the mid 1800s, it needed its own toll booth, which is basically a prison, a sort of administration office, and you know, that sort of thing. So this is the old toll booth on the Canongate. You can see it was built in round about the 1400s. You can see the old stonework there. Absolutely marvellous building. It's got a little pub at the bottom of it called the Toll Booth Tavern. And right next to it, you'll see a museum called The People's Story. Basically, a lovely little museum showing life from like the Victorian times up until today. It's absolutely stunning. There we have a little typical close in Edinburgh. and then you can look across and you'll see down Old Toll Booth Wynd. So there you have the coat of arms for the Canongate on the side of the toll booth, saying 1128 when it was founded. And now we're coming up to the stunning Canongate Kirk, and this was built in I think round about 1688 under the orders of King James VII, just before he was deposed for being a Catholic. Now if we go in here, we're going to see a very prominent grave of the famous economist Adam Smith. But just as we go in, we'll see the statue to Robert Ferguson, the poet. Now, Robert Ferguson is buried in here, and his grave was, so he had a pauper's grave, and it was improved by Robert Burns and then repaired by Robert Louis Stevenson. So this is Robert Ferguson, died aged 24 in Bedlam Mental Asylum. And if we look just up here, we see the escutcheon of Nassau and the Dutch influence building. And as we walk around here, I'm going to show you the resting place of Adam Smith, the philosopher, economist and historian. Now there's actually a little path leading up to his grave, so I'm doing it with a bit of respect. And as we just come to here, we have Adam Smith's grave. I'll try and slot that through there. Isn't that lovely? Excuse my camera work while I weave the camera back out. And then I'm going to show you quickly the resting place of Robert Ferguson, and then we'll go round to the alleged resting place of David Rizzio, who was Mary Queen of Scots' secretary, who was brutally murdered in front of her while she was pregnant. Incidentally, if you just look up on the side of Calton Hill there, you'll see the old Royal High School, currently under discussion of what they're going to do with it. And this is the grave of Robert Ferguson, who the statue of was outside. Okay, and if you look up there, you'll see Nelson's Tower on the Calton Hill, and that Romanesque looking statue thing up on the hill up there is the Robert Burns Monument. So let's quickly walk round the back of the kirk, and I'll quickly show you the alleged grave of David Rizzio, the secretary of Mary Queen of Scots. This is a lovely little churchyard. Here we go. Just coming up on the right hand side there, you'll see a little stone coffin, and just above it, tradition says that this is the grave of David Rizzio, 1533 to 66, transported from Holyrood. As we go down, come to this little jewel in the crown of the Royal Mile. This is called Dunbars Close. And as we walk down here, it's a beautiful little sanctuary away from the Royal Mile. It's just nice and quiet, and there's some beautiful little gardens all the way down. So there's like decorative gardens, and incidentally, lots of gardens like this in the medieval times would have looked exactly like this. If you look at old maps from the 15, 16, 1700s, you'll see gardens laid out like this in the Canongate. So it's quite authentic, really. There we go. Isn't this lovely? You see what I mean by a little sanctuary? So you can imagine in the summer this would be very busy, but it's still rather pretty. And there's a little park down the bottom with benches on for if you want to sit and have your lunch or something like that. There we go. Isn't that gorgeous? So as we turn left into here, we come into White Horse Close, possibly one of the most photographed streets in Edinburgh. Now, the White Horse was supposed to be named after one of Mary Queen of Scots' favourite horses, and these houses here would have been the stables. These houses in front of us date to 1623, roundabout. And in front of us is Holyrood Palace, and if you look here, we have the Scottish Parliament, and then we can look back up from where we've just come. So let's head across to the palace. Now, as we walk down this little street here, it's called Abbey Strand, and this used to be called the Sanctuary, and that sort of stone grey building in the next to the gates is called the Sanctuary. And if you were in debt to somebody in prior to the 1800s, it was actually a criminal offence. But if you crossed the Sanctuary line, which is marked here on the ground with some brass S's, see, there's an S there, and an S there, and an S there. So if you crossed the Sanctuary line, you in effect were able to stay here, and you could stay in this little house here called the Sanctuary. And this little building here is called the Watergate, which has recently been renovated into holiday apartments. And as we come towards these gates here, if you look at the turrets in front of us, and if you go up 2 levels to the second set of windows, that was actually Mary Queen of Scots' apartments. As we just approach the gate, you'll start to see, so 2 windows up, you'll see Mary Queen of Scots' apartments just there. And if you go through there, that is where you'll see where David Rizzio was murdered. And then we can just look across there at the forecourt and the little fountain. So this building, if you look to the left of the building, you'll see the old abbey. Now that dates back to the 1100s and was obliterated by King Henry VIII amongst other people during the rough wooing, and is now completely ruinous. But buried in there is some famous Scottish kings like King James V buried in there amongst other people. So this is the side of the Sanctuary House, and I'm going to take you up to a special little building at the bottom of the Canongate, and this is called Mary Queen of Scots' bathhouse. And if you can imagine back in the 1500s, this little park here would have been tennis courts. So I don't think she actually had a bath in this house. It was actually a place for refreshments and maybe to mop her brow and stuff. But this lovely little building has remained intact for over 500-600 years. So let's just walk towards the little building. There are stories of her bathing in wine in this little building, but I don't think that's true. This is, you know, little window above. It's absolutely stunning. And in the 1700s, they discovered a dagger in the rafters in the roof, a jewel encrusted dagger, and they reckon that was one of the daggers that was used to murder her Mary Queen of Scots' secretary, David Rizzio. So this is the Lee House, Mary Queen of Scots' bathhouse, right on the main road. So folks, hope you enjoyed my little tour of the Canongate. This was part 3 of my Royal Mile tour.